Thank you, and good evening, House of Blues. Very nice to be back in Cleveland. With a few of my favourite tunes, and to warm up, this one. Country. For years I've been telling the story about my uncle Stephen, who was a submarine officer in World War II, and how when I was a kid there was this photograph of him in his British Navy outfit, uniform, on the stairs. And my dad, who was a sort of doddery old Oxford archaeology professor, was not exactly an action figure in my life, so Uncle Stephen was always the man. And then, you know, as I grew up and I heard from my family that my Uncle Stephen, who I'd never met, of course, because his submarine went aground on manoeuvres off the coast of England in 1941. There's a bit of a ring on the mic. I'd never met him, but I did a gig in West London a few years ago, and I was out signing merch afterwards. And at the end of the line, there was a man that was a little man that was kind of loitering, you know, like hanging out. And as he got closer to the front of the line, I noticed that he had sort of regulation shoes. And he got to the front of the line and he said, "Yeah, Mr. Dolby, or should I say Mr. Robertson, I'm actually a representative of the Royal Navy, and my job is to let survivors of people who perished in World War II know the circumstances of their deaths as information becomes declassified. And I know that for years you've been telling the story about how your Uncle Stephen went down off the coast of England, but that wasn't actually what happened." I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to rewrite some lyrics. It's so hard to find a rhyme for manoeuvres in the first place. And I said, "What did happen?" He said, "Well, he actually, it was an Italian motor torpedo boat that got them off the coast of North Africa." And I thought, well, I'm going to have to completely rethink my song now, you know, because it's like, you know, the fact that they went aground on manoeuvres off just the coast of England, like it was the sort of symbol of the demise of the British Empire. If it was actually in combat, that didn't quite fit my agenda. So I was sort of pondering this about 6 months after that, when I get another call from a man who claims to be a dive captain. And he's putting together an excursion. He's like a salvage dive captain. He's putting together an expedition because he thinks that he's located the wreck of my uncle's submarine. It was about 2 miles off the coast of Tunisia. I said, this is great, this is fantastic. When are you going? When's this exhibition? He said, well, we're just putting the funding together now. And I'm thinking back to the guy in the line, and it's like, I never actually checked his credentials. And I thought, okay, either this is like an exciting new verse for my song, or it's the biggest scam since the Nigerian Cultural Ministry thing. One way or another, this is the ongoing saga of one of our submarines. I used to be honorary member #1 of the Flat Earth Society. Back in the days when it was cool to be a member of the Flat Earth Society. in time, you will come to understand. This flight on earth is in your gentle hands.
I still have a dream.
A long time ago, I had to do an early morning talk show interview with a radio station in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And this was not long after my album Astronauts and Heretics had come out. There's a song in it called I Love You Goodbye. Which has a lot of local sort of interest lyrics in Louisiana. Now, I don't tend to research my lyrics very much. It's like when I'm writing them, it's like stream of consciousness, and I find something that rhymes or scans, and I throw it in there and don't bother to do much checking up. So anyway, I've got this early morning interview. It's like 7 a.m. in Baton Rouge and 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, where I was. And I set my alarm and slept straight through it. But a couple of minutes after 5, the phone goes on my bed, and I pick it up and go, what? And they go, you're live on Baton Rouge, Katie. And I start to get better. And the guy's like a comedian, sort of talk show host. And he says, yeah, we love we call it the Baton Rouge song, the Bayou Rain song, he says we call it. I said, oh yeah, great. He said, but you do know, of course, that we don't have counties down here, we have parishes. You know, so mention of the county sheriff, you know. Oh, sorry about that. And he mentions a couple of other things, and then his pièce de résistance is at the end of the interview. He goes, yeah, we love the Bayou Rain song, but you do know, Mr. Dolby, that the Everglades are not actually in Louisiana. They're all the way in Florida. So I'm waking up at this point, and I go, well, you do know, Mr. Jerry, whatever your name is, that Bayou Rain is a thing in Florida. And they call it the Bayou Rain, you know, and we stole that Datsun and drove all night to the Florida Everglades and crashed it there and stood there listening to the Bayou Rain. And so, you know, next time you're in Florida, you should ask them. They say, oh yeah, honey, there's a Bayou Rain this afternoon, you know. And so I was down in Florida for 4 days this week, and I told them they have to make it so now. They have to introduce this into their vernacular. So, yeah, a storm blew through, and there's a Bayou Rain out there. So with that in mind. Drove all night in Everglades until we crashed it in a big electric storm and stood there listening to the Bayou Rain. Listen. Louisiana's pride. joy. And he said politely as he cuffed me, I never busted an English boy. Well, I will accept a contribution to the old Palooza's charity ball. Y'all better drive this dirty Datsun into the Gulf of Mexico or America. Under Cajun moon, I lay me open. There is a spirit here that won't be broken. Some words are sad to say, some leave me tongue-tied, but the hardest thing to tell you, the hardest words I know, I love you goodbye. I love you goodbye.
Who's that guy?
So I've been married to the lovely Kathleen for 38 years now. But this next song, which is actually relatively recent, is sort of a film noir soundtrack to my pre-Kathleen life, and which may be a bit too much information. But there's another piece of information that you need to know, and that is that I don't go to dance clubs. I don't really dance. If music is good, I want to listen to it, and if it's bad, I'm not going to dignify it by dancing badly to it. I was once on Saturday Night Live with George Clinton, and I played my song and I came on stage and he said, "Dolby, you're a funky motherfucker." Afterwards we went out to a club and I had a few drinks. I made the mistake of going out on the dance floor and came back in and he said, "I take that back." And this song features a cameo from one Regina Spektor as a Russian waitress. that New York City never sleeps, but I think they're only talking about me. It's 3 a.m. and 95 degrees. Whoa, whoa. So I dressed and went out for a bite to eat. I found an open diner on 14th. Yelena brought me carrot cake and tea. Whoa, whoa.
Хочешь еще кофе? Я закончу в 4. Нет, мы открыты круглосуточно.
I wasn't there, that wasn't me. It must have been my evil twin brother. I didn't hear, I couldn't see. It must have been my evil twin brother. Evil twin, my evil twin brother. The village was a maze of cobbled streets. We slipped into a doorway of the rain, with the warm air from the subway on our skin. An alleyway you'd never normally take, the neon sign beneath the fire escape. The man with the walkie-talkie said, "Come in, in, in." It must have been my evil twin brother. I didn't hear, I couldn't see. It must have been my evil twin brother. I wasn't there, that wasn't me. It must have been my evil twin brother. I didn't hear, I didn't see. Touched a drink in over a year, but I told myself I'd stop at just one beer. Found myself a stool at the bar. Whoa, whoa. A blur among the bodies in the strobe. I saw Yelena spinning like a globe. She took my hand and led me on the floor. Floor. I wasn't there, that wasn't me. It must have been my evil twin brother. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. Evil twin. That wasn't me. Evil twin brother. No, no. songs don't get covered very much for some reason. I figure out. Sort of waiting for Taylor Swift to do a cover of Urges or something. I mentioned it, I don't know whether it's because, you can't improve on perfection, or because you can't polish a turd. Either way, I mentioned this a few years ago to a guy called Jason Mraz out in Los Angeles. And Jason said, "Oh man, I love your songs. I'd sing one of your songs in a heartbeat." And I said, "On an album?" He said, "Well, no, not on an album." But he broke into a verse of "My brain is like a sieve." And this was too good to be true, so I put Jason up against a wall and I got my iPhone out and I filmed him singing this. And brought it back and put it to music. So Jason is going to introduce the next song for you.
When you said you loved me,
Yeah.
when you told me you cared, that you would be a part of me, and that you'd always be there. Did you really mean to hurt me? No, I think you're only meant to tease. But it's hard to remember through these broken memories. Through these broken memories.
Relationship with Europe, and this song just about sums that up. On the corners of boulevards, I call it a name. Now and again, they play out you. In the grip of a tiny hand over a flame. Pale as the phases of the moon. Cafes and shopping malls, I see your face. Turn into mist on evening dew. But a book and a photograph just aren't the same. There is a train that's leaving soon. And palaces, I'll hold your hand until the fog has lifted. Maybe better you hold me close than understand how far away I've drifted. Face of a tragedy too of some grand illusion. All the treasure we pilloried, splendor we stole. They never told you that in school. Que je voudrais vous présenter, messieurs, mesdames. Regardez bien, je vous en prie. Here's a map and a diagram, a shriveled page. Rips from the book of history. See the priceless antiquities frozen in time. Built on the ashes of the Jews. And for your curiosity, beauty sublime. Signed in the blood of Zulus. I've been touring the last couple of weeks with a great bass player and singer by the name of Gail Dorsey. And Gail, for the last 10 years of David Bowie's life, was like his right-hand person in his band. And she and I actually met on stage with him at the Roseland Ballroom, and I was guesting with him in 92. And we were comparing notes, and anybody that works with David sort of felt like they'd been touched by an angel. But he wasn't always an angel. You may have seen a BBC documentary called Cracked Actor, which didn't portray him in a very great light. Well, there were glimpses of that cracked actor during the brief time that I knew him. Very, very brief. And one of them was a 12-minute helicopter ride that I did with him. And this song is really a tribute and sort of my memory of that day. And hopefully it'll be a good memory for you as well. But you might want to get your hankies out just in case. It was a beautiful morning in July 1985, and I made my way to the Battersea heliport to meet one of my all-time heroes, Mr. David Bowie. I had my Brownie camera with me that day, but it was only as our helicopter touched down I remembered David was terrified of flying. We soared over London, and he wouldn't let me take his photograph, the little diva. But I snapped one anyway in the reflection of the glass. And as we made our descent into Wembley Stadium, the most amazing sight met our eyes. I was drifting for days.
To a machine just to keep my mouth from spouting. Must have took me for a fool, cause they chucked me out of school, cause the teacher knew I had the fun. But tonight I'm on the edge, better shook me in the fridge, cause I'm with the vision in my brain, and the music in my veins. I'm dying with the name in my blood. They are messing with my heart. And they're messing with my heart. They are messing with my heart. Keep on messing with my heart. Break me apart. Hyperactive when I small. Hyperactive now I'm tall. Hyperactive as the night is long. And I'm lost. I can reach into your homes, I can reach in your headphones, we can turn. I'm gonna shape in your back room, I'm the breather on the phone. I don't but there's one thing I must say before they lock me up again. You can set me right from bed. When
many years ago, I came up with a mad title for a song. And I didn't really have a song yet, just a title, and it was She Blinded Me With Science. You know, my record company, I drew a storyboard, right, for the video. MTV was just taking off, and they said, this is great, where's the song? And I said, I'll bring it in on Monday, and I went home and wrote the thing. But I was slightly worried that, you know, I'd get sort of wedged into this mad scientist image. And then my then girlfriend had a brilliant idea. She said, why don't you hire a real bona fide scientist, and that'll make you look really cool. So I went through the central casting catalogue, and there was this guy, you know, that worked for the BBC, who was sort of like a local, you know, TV scientist guy, sort of Bill Nye of his day. And he was available, you know, to come down. And he came down to my little studio, and I gave him like a list of things I wanted him to say. And, you know, included was the title of the song, and it came out sort of like a question, like, you know, you should blind me with science. And I said, Dr. Pike, that's great, but it's not really a question, it's sort of more of a statement. And he said,
yes, but as a known scientist, it would be a bit surprising if the girl blinded me with science.
And I said, okay, just humour me, okay? It'll all make sense when you see it together in the video. And I said, just give me some wild tracks. And he went,
Science!
okay, just ramp it up a little bit.
Science!
I said, no, I'm really crazy, like a wild animal. He went,
Science!
fantastic. Sounds like a hit single to me. What do you think? About it, I could have had more or less any celebrity. So welcome to Celebrity Karaoke. When I'm dancing close to her, blinding me with science. I can smell the chemicals, blinding me with science. Science. It's poetry in motion. When she turned her eyes to me, as deep as any ocean, as sweet as any harmony. She blinded me with science.
She blinded me with science.
And found me in biology. When she's dancing next to me,
Yes, science!
I can hear machinery. Poetry in motion. Now she's making love to me. Says I'm in emotion. The elements in harmony. She blinded me with science.
Can I say this? I fucking love science.
Hit me with technology. Yeah.
and wise, careful notes, and crazy notions. Poetry in motion. When she turned her eyes to me, deep as any ocean, sweet as any harmony. She blinded me with science.
I believe in science.
She blinded me. Thank you, Cleveland. Good night.
Big car of hot sauce, she's hot and spicy, but twice as nicey, although she burn me up. Big car of hot sauce, she's hotter than pepper, I would've dipped her, although she burn me up. Big car of hot sauce, she's hot and spicy, but twice as nicey, although she burn me up. Big car of hot sauce, she's hotter than pepper, I would've dipped her, although she burn me up. Big car of hot sauce, she's hot and spicy, but twice as nicey, although she burn me up. Big car of hot sauce, she's hotter than pepper, I would've dipped her, although she burn me up.
The color of hot sauce, she's hot and spicy, but twice as nasty, although she burn me up. The color of hot sauce, she's hotter than pepper, I would've dipped her, although she burn me up. There was a fire truck for tango, the smoke poured from the nose. Instead of mine to hang out which way the wind blows. Shooting at Tabasco, slipping on my shirt. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't see. I had to call a smuggler. The color of hot sauce, she's hot and spicy, but twice as nasty, although she burned me up. The color of hot sauce, she's hotter than pepper. I would've kept her, although she burned me up. Well, what if I didn't burn? Had the lesson had learned. You sit there like a dope until you choke out of smoke. Smoke gets in your eyes. Smarter than I got hot sauce for mine. The color of hot sauce, she's hot and spicy, but twice as nasty, although she burned me up. The color of hot sauce, she's hotter than pepper, I would've kept her, although she burned me up. Come on. Couldn't give the crew something to do. Thanks again for coming out tonight. You've been a great audience. Thanks to all the staff of the House of Blues, my lovely crew. You Ness there on merch wherever she may be. Thanks to all of you for sticking with me all these years. I can't believe I'm lucky enough to be still up here doing this. That's credit you. along. They call her hot sauce. She's hot and spicy. Twice as nicey, although she's burning. They call her hot sauce. She's hot and pepper. I would attack her, although she's burning. They call her hot sauce. She's hot and spicy. Twice as nicey, although she's burning. They call her hot sauce. She's hot and pepper. I would attack her, although she's burning. They call her hot sauce. She's hot and spicy. But twice as nicey, although she burned me up. Strange how the scale falls in tiny patterns on my antenna and the 5 o'clock show. Hello, hello. Brooklyn is crawling with famous people. I turn my vehicle beneath the river West Brunswick. Through the airways, people never read the airways. Do we only feed the airways? Stand them out at street level airways. Don't sift the wind, the airways. Intention of the skin, the airways. I really should have seen through the airways. Electric fences line our new freeway. Here in the half-light, the motorhomes live in. Knee-deep in water, under a pylon. How slow my heart beats, how thin the air I'm breathing. Through the airways, people never read the airways. Do we only feed the airways? I stumble out of street level airways. Down the sift the wind, the airways. Intention of the scheme, the airways. Controllers enabled, the abandoned wires again, the copper cables, all rust in the acid rain, flood the subway with elements of our corrosion cabled into me. Yeah, cabled into me. Cable them to me. Be in my broadcast when this is over. Give me your shoulder. I need a place to wait for the morning. No, it was nothing. Some car backfiring. Please don't ask questions. Sound about a street level airway, timeless of the wind in the airways, and tension of the speed in the airways. Should have seen through the airways. Thanks again for coming out tonight, you guys. Lovely warm warriors, thank you. Timeless of the wind in the airways, intention of the speed in the airways.